Tell me when I'm good.
You're live. You're good.
All right, guys. How you doing? I am Nate Zelensky. We're coming to you live from Colorado. Guys, this is the live show. This is everything about you, the hunter, the outdoorsman. Our goal here is to make everyone a better outdoorsman, again, a better hunter through education. So the process of this show, guys, we're trying to bring you content, tips, tactics, scouting, hunting, whatever, shooting. Our goal, again, is to bring you updated information, current information, to hopefully make you a better shooter. As our producer, Devin Menino, just turn on the Instagram camera. Guys, for the most part today, actually, we'll be throwing live to Facebook, right?
Yep.
So we got a guest coming on. So if you are on Instagram, you will probably hear the content and one-sided conversation, I assume. I don't know exactly how the technology works. Devin will answer that question. But yeah, if you want to interact with our guest tonight, make sure you jump over to Facebook. So go to the Bowtech Facebook page or any of our other guests, guys. So we're going live from a lot of Facebook pages. Huge thanks to everybody participating in the show. Guys, the show is brought to you by Bowtech Archery, but we're also going live from the Bowtech Archery website, as well as the Bowtech Archery Facebook page. Going live from Diamond Archery, going live from Excalibur Crossbows, Black Gold Sights, Tight Spot Quivers, Ripcord Rest, Bass Pro Shops of Denver, Nate Zelensky's page, guys, and a new one tonight, our guest of the night, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, Lucky Duck Decoys. So welcome, Lucky Duck. We appreciate you letting us go live from your page. And again, tonight is all about education to make you guys better hunters. So again, huge thanks to Bowtech for providing the platform for allowing us to do that. So again, I'm Nate Zelensky. Guys, I reside here in Colorado, hunt everything I can possibly get a tag for, everything that walks. Before we bring in our guest, guys, we've got an amazing guest, the master of predators, the king of all coyotes. Guys, we got Jeff Nimnick. So we're really excited about this. I'll actually be seeing Jeff this week at a sports show coming up here in Denver. I'll be at the Denver International Sportsman's Exposition for the next 4 days or so. I'll be interacting with Jeff. I know Jeff just got done with a big coyote tournament. But guys, we're going to be bringing Jeff on here in just a minute. So make sure you bring your questions, guys. If you have questions about predators, you have questions about coyotes, everything about coyotes, I promise you, the owner of the Coyote Craze video series, Jeff, will be on here live here in just a minute. So make sure you bring those questions. But real quick, we took 2 weeks off for the holidays. So for a lot of people that have been following us and following things that have been going on, we took off for the holidays, just as our first weekend back. Last time I spoke with everyone was just before Christmas, and I had basically a week left on the Eastern Plains mule deer hunt. So we've been talking about that. I had a different approach. Again, this is my very first Eastern Plains tag that I've ever hunted for mule deer. I've been out there. I've guided some out there. I've seen some friends out there, hunted with them. But I've never personally had a tag in my pocket. It's a grasslands, little canyons, kind of a different hunt. A lot of does, animals hang out in bigger groups than I'd say the average person's used to. So it was kind of a neat hunt. Most people that had that Eastern Plains tag tried to fill that tag during the rut. So, you're talking your Thanksgiving time for these mule deer, maybe just a little earlier than that. That's when most people are filling this tag. But a lot of times these bigger bucks are nocturnal. You'll spend some time out chasing during the day. But really, until the cold hits, you really never know what's all out there. So I personally waited till the later portion of that. Basically, it breaks up into a couple different zones. And I waited until the December time to really activate this tag, just because I wanted to see when everything was out there. I wanted to wait till December to where everything is in a post-rut situation. Everything is out during the day, feeding, bedding out in the open. Really just to know what's out there, to know if there's, a giant 250-inch deer, a 200-inch deer. So I waited till a later portion of the tag just to really see what's available, see what bucks are out there. So that was kind of my strategy going into it. We were watching some really big deer. So I went out there basically the last 3-4 days of the season. And as I approached the last 3-4 days of the season, we were seeing a ton of deer. The first day I went out there, I probably saw 15 different bucks, so a lot of deer. And then the next day I went out, I ran into the deer that you don't want to see. Now, guys, people are going to criticize me for that. They're going to say I'm a trophy hunter, I'm jealous, I'm greedy, whatever you want to say it. I wanted to find the biggest mule deer on the block. I wanted to find the monster of the Eastern Plains. I was really hoping for a 200-inch deer. And then I came across this very, very nice buck. Great tines, great frame, heavy, everything that I would say 90% of your hunters are looking for. And this is the deer that a taxidermist friend of mine named Vinny Brown, we always talk about. It's the deer you don't want to see because you're hoping to find one bigger, but you can't pass it up. It's just one of those things. You cannot pass up a deer like this. So, guys, some of you have seen it, some of you have not. Devin, let's throw sort of a picture of this buck here. Guys, the next week or so, we're going to show you all the video of this deer. But you can see the buck right there. I mean, great tine depth, splits up top, great eye guards. It's a big deer. It's a very, very big deer. It's a nice deer. It was an amazing stock. Everything about it was awesome. Shot that deer with the Realm X. Amazing shot, 60 yards, 62 yards, and put that deer down. So it was exciting. It was fun. And again, I'm to the moon and back. So don't get me wrong. I'm not unappreciative. I love the deer. I would shoot him tomorrow again. I'd shoot him tonight again. Absolutely love it. But again, it's that deer that you're hoping for the massive giant deer, and you see that one, and I don't know any hunters that would pass him up. It's just that situation. You're like, man, I want the King Kong. You see that one, you're like, oh, don't even look at him. But you can't pass it up. I did a great stalk. It was crazy. I came through this field. I'm just gonna plug my wire. This buck was out with probably 25 does and 5 other bucks in a big, massive field. But he's basically feeding on winter wheat out in kind of a pasture. And luckily, it was just on the other side of a hill. And there's grass growing up on all these fence lines. So I actually crawled through this giant field out in this meadow. Came up on the buck, and he was bedded down at first. And I came up to a gate, and the gate was open just by like a foot. Bunch of the does were on me. The does were kind of looking at me. The buck was still bedded down. And the does started to trot off, and the buck was still bedded. So I had to make the decision. He was just over just a little bit of a knob, so I had to go through the gate to get the shot. So as quiet as possible, I try to sneak through this gate. And actually, as I was walking past it, my release actually hit the gate, kind of made a little metal ting, and the buck stood up. At that point in time, I had an arrow knocked. I was ready. I drew back. I actually stood up to my feet just to get a little more stable. Just where I was sitting on my knees, the ground was kind of goofed up. It was hurting me. So I stood up. All the deer were there, and I shot very quickly. Made the shot and put that deer down. 62 yards. It was awesome. And there's just nothing like those. Again, I don't want to promote longer shots, but when you can watch the arrow go just above the deer's back, and you just watch that arrow drop in there into that sweet spot. There's nothing like it. It's exciting. It's awesome. Deer ran 35, 40 yards and piled up, and that's the buck. That's the Eastern Plains buck of my year. So it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. And, tonight we're going to be talking about predators. We're bringing on a good friend of ours. Again, Jeff Nimnick coming on here in just a couple minutes. But before we come into predator hunting, we've been talking predators now last week or last time we had the show on. Tonight it's all about coyotes. Again, continuing our hunting season. I'm a bow hunter, but whether you're a bow hunter, a rifle hunter, a shotgunner, predators is one of those things that, number one, it's a great sport. It's fun. It's entertaining. But more importantly, so many of our states need the help with predator control. Whether that's a situation of coyotes or mountain lions or bears or whatever the predators are in your area. A lot of areas, I'm not saying all, but a lot of areas are in need of predator control, and it's getting way more popular as a sport. And it's a great time. It's fun. And I'll tell you start going after coyotes with archery equipment, and it's a whole new realm. So, whether you're shooting archery equipment, shooting a crossbow, it adds a whole new element to it. So it's exciting. It's a fun way to do it. And with that being said, I started predator hunting with a bow, and it taught me a lot of lessons. And the number one lesson it taught me is to be able to comfortably and very accurately shoot fast. And I would say that's probably one of my stronger suits as an archery hunter. I'm not a target guy. I can't go shoot paper all day and shoot well, but I do shoot fast. I can draw back, find anchor point, get comfortable, and let an arrow fly very, very quickly. A lot of people saw that live South Dakota hunt we did for a mule deer. That deer literally stuck his head up, and I let that arrow fly. Same type of thing on this mule deer. I've seen so many times as a guide in these western states. I guided for 10 years. of animals and opportunities walking away because people didn't make the most of those opportunities by, again, waiting too long or waiting for the more perfect opportunity. If the opportunity exists, I mean, even if it's just a small window of an opportunity, if the opportunity is there, you got to take it. So we're going to talk about that over the next couple weeks. We're going to be talking predators, but we're going to be walking through, now's the time to prep for next hunting season. As we start to wrap up all the hunting seasons, it's immediately time. Don't pack anything away. Don't rest. Get right back into it. Keep the momentum rolling. And that's one of the big goals I really preach to a lot of hunters. How fast do you shoot? Are you the guy that has to sit there for 20 seconds before you're comfortable to take that shot? Or can you draw a knock anchor and literally let it fly? Because again, shooting faster, target accuracy, and just really putting it all together will make you more successful as a hunter. So keep things in mind like that. Now, guys, real quick, I got to say, this week, if you are an archery hunter, an archery person, a target shooter, this is the week of all weeks. It's the Super Bowl of the sport. It's the week of the ATA show. So right now in Indianapolis, everybody is setting up. The show opens Thursday to Saturday is the ATA show. The Archery Trade Association, all the big dogs in the sport are there. All the manufacturers. It's an invite-only show, but it is a very big show. So we got to say real quick, Bowtech, as always, Bowtech and Excalibur crossbows will be doing more live content than any other archery manufacturer out there. They're good at this game. So make sure you text GO LIVE to, again, 77453. So that's going to give you all the live content for everything coming from Bowtech. So again, GO LIVE to 77453. Or you can text Excel, EXCAL, EXCAL to that same number, XCAL, to that 77453. So again, EXCAL, XCAL to 77453 for all the live content coming from Excalibur. Again, they're both going to be there at the ATA show.
And they're both giving away free bows.
They're both giving away free bows. So again, that's the big thing. So not only are you going to learn, there's going to be a lot of Q&A. I believe Teresa Vale is going to be hosting most of that Q&A. But guys, you're going to be talking to Heartland, the Shockeys, Jim Burnsworth. I mean, everybody is there. So make sure that you text those key words, the Go Live, the XCal, the 77453. Free bows, free information, free education. You cannot lose. So again, everything's happening at ATA. Make sure you watch all the social media outlets. Make sure you contact all those notifications. I promise you, there's a lot of stuff going on, and everybody out there could use a new free bow. So, again, make sure you check that stuff out. I promise you're going to like it. Now, guys, we're going to be going live here in just a second. Devin's going to call in our guest. Guys, it's about predator hunting. So, when we talk about predators, everything we do on this show is about you, the viewer, the listener. We try to bring you the best content, the best information to, again, help your education to make you a better hunter, a better shooter, and a better outdoorsman or a better sportsman. So that's always the focus point of this show. So we had a lot of people saying, hey, let's talk predators. You know, I've predator hunted before. Now I want to do it with archery equipment. Or, hey, I love big game hunting. I've never predator hunted. How do I get started in it? So regardless, when it comes time to hunting coyotes, to hunting predators, we're going to go straight to the top. We're not talking to me, who does it a little bit. We're going to talk to the master of it, Jeff Nimnick. So, guys, we're going to bring Jeff on here. Let me grab my my headphones. And we're going to be talking to the creator, the master of the Coyote Craze video series. So,
and just before we get him on,
yep.
That being said, at ATA, everybody from Bowtech's there, and we had an issue bringing the Lucky Duck feed on, and we greatly apologize for that. But
perfect. All right, guys. So, yeah, again, Lucky Duck is not with us apparently, but, guys, we appreciate everybody that is watching. So, guys, we're going to go live right now. So, make sure, if you have questions about predator hunting, it's live right now. You get to talk to the master, Jeff Nimnick. Guys, Jeff, how you doing today?
Doing great, Nate, man. Good to be on the show.
Perfect. Awesome, man. We appreciate it. You know, we've talked the last couple weeks trying to get on here. You know, I know you're very in-depth with your bowling league, as I kept giving you a hard time for, because you're really on vacation. But we appreciate you coming out. Now, you were just in Colorado, or were you in the Tri-States, or where were you at? I saw pictures of you getting stuck, chasing coyotes, tournaments. You are a very busy person in the predator hunting world.
Yeah, we were just hunting in the Colorado Predator Classic, second annual. We tried to defend our title, but we came up a little bit short. But it was fun nonetheless.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's, you know, you and I have known each other maybe going on 6-8 years, something like that, and coyote hunting was big then, and now it's exploded. It seems like coyote hunting, even predators in general, is the talk of the town. I mean, it's a full blown mega sport inside of the hunting world, and you've been a part of it the whole time. I think it's really awesome that you're excelling with that. You'll be down here actually in Denver at the International Sportsman's Expo this coming weekend. So if anybody out here in the Western States, Thursday to Sunday is the ISE show at the Denver Convention Center. You're going to be doing seminars. You're going to have a booth there. But Jeff, I wanted to bring you on just for the fact of one. So many hunters hang things up. You know, they're a deer hunter, they're an elk hunter, and they quit hunting now. And a way to, you know, really increase the sport, make it longer, enhance the hunting season is to chase after predators. Number two, I think it's key to help out a lot of the deer populations, a lot of the bird populations to hunt predators, because in some situations, they're a nuisance that needs some help in that control manner. And number three, if, let's just say you're a struggling elk hunter, you know, whether that's, you know, archery or rifle, if you can start killing coyotes, I promise you that will make you so much better of an elk hunter. Because again, let's just face it, you know, coyotes are one of those situations that they're hard to hunt. They're smart. They're scared of everything in the world. And if you can kill coyotes, you can kill all big game. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I had my little 3-year-old guest snuck in the in the room with me.
No worries.
Hey,
this is live.
Yeah,
this is real. Everything about this is live and real.
Yeah, there we go. See, you want to say hi to everybody? Say hi. All right, bud. Yeah, you know, it's like us, and that's one of the things that I've always found challenging and intriguing about coyote hunting and just hunting in general. It seems like you talk to hunters, and everybody has their one specific thing that they really have a passion for. And for me, it just happened to be coyotes. And it was probably 10 years ago, I really got the bug and kind of really decided that was what I was going to spend my time doing, was chasing coyotes. Colton, you got to go upstairs.
He's like, man, I want to talk coyotes,
I love
Dad.
the family life trying to do something like this, huh?
So, guys, as everybody's watching this, guys, again, this is Jeff. You know everything about coyotes. You know things like that. Now, we have so many questions. People are going to be commenting on here and asking questions. But the number one thing that I want to talk about, too, is I've shot a lot of coyotes. I've been fortunate enough in the predator world, but so many times I've done this with high power rifles, shooting at a distance, you know, shooting long range type stuff. I want to increase my close range coyote, whether you're using a shotgun, but more importantly, I want to shoot a bow. I want to start successfully on a daily basis putting down coyotes with archery equipment. What's the number one thing to, number one, being successful as a coyote hunter, but number two, how do I switch over the whole concepts of getting close? I mean, these coyotes are a nightmare to kill in pressured situations where they're actively getting shot at. How do you get coyotes close? How do you become a coyote hunter?
You know, getting coyotes close is almost an art form in itself. There's a lot of different factors involved in getting coyotes close. One of the big ones is probably the amount of cover you have to set up in. You know, let's say you're out on the eastern plains of Colorado and you're hunting some of that short grass prairie, not much cover to help break up your outline. It's going to be tough, you know, especially, you know, shotgunning is a little bit different than a little bit less movement. You don't have to draw a bow, you know, so it's very tough when you get in situations where there's not a lot of cover. Now you start going places where maybe the sagebrush is taller, you have fence lines and tree lines to sit in. You know, you're going to be better off because that's all going to break your outline up. It's going to minimize your movement, and you're going to be the coyotes aren't going to pick you out as quick, which is going to allow them to get closer to you into the ranges you need to kill them with a bow.
I mean, that's huge. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's almost like turkey hunting. You know, if you do it from a blind with archery equipment, it's simple. When all of a sudden you're forced to be outside, you know, leaning up against a tree, it becomes very hard with archery equipment. But I think it's, again, I don't know. I shouldn't say it like this because, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people miss a coyote and you're brokenhearted. But, you know, when I miss a mule deer, you know, a giant deer, a big bull, I'm destroyed that I'm so sad I missed it. When I miss a coyote, I'm mad and I'm frustrated, but it doesn't ruin my world. It's just who I am. And that's where it's awesome to have that practice because, again, if you are a hunter that can number one, kill coyotes, number two, kill them at close range with any, you know, weapon, it's going to make you a better hunter. I think that's where it all comes into it. And I mean, again, we're trying to cram this into 15, 20 minutes, and this is really going to be it needs to be a year series of being a successful coyote hunter. But I mean, you have calling, you have decoying, you have different setups. I mean, there's, you know, I watch your stuff, and again, I'm just repeating stuff that I've seen on your DVD series, that I've seen on YouTube, that I've seen you film TV with. There's a million things that go into it, and right now we have listeners literally from Florida to Connecticut to California. I mean, we have listeners from everywhere that are hunting various different situations, different, you know, everything's different. You know, obviously you're out here in kind of the, you know, the Western grounds. As we approach it, again, obviously cover's huge. How do I start coyote hunting? Let's just start there. Let's start with the basics. Whether I'm gun hunting, bow hunting, do I start off? What calls do I use? Do I use electronic calls, mouth calls? Walk me through the basics of coyote hunting here real quick, just to start people off. I've never coyote hunted before. How do I go out hunting tomorrow, Jeff?
We'll even start worrying about the calls and your equipment. You know, what I really stress is understanding, number one, the coyotes themselves. That's huge, no matter what you're hunting. But understanding how a coyote works, how a coyote thinks, where a coyote's going to be first thing in the morning versus where a coyote's going to be during the middle part of the day, October versus what coyotes are doing in February. You know, learning that, and we could spend an hour talking about just the coyote life cycle and how coyotes think and tick. So that's the first thing. And, you know, the second thing you have to really worry about is where you're going to go hunting. The area you're going to be hunting, the amount of pressure that area has gotten, what are the densities of coyotes like in that area, what is your access like getting into that area, all those things. I mean, there is 100 variables that go into play with this. And once you get that figured out and you get a place to go and you know the area and you know where you can park the vehicle, where you can walk in, where you have the wind coming in a favorable direction, where hopefully the coyote that's out there doesn't know you're there, then you can start worrying about, you know, the call and the call sequences and things like that. That's hopefully going to call that coyote in that doesn't know you're there.
I mean that's huge. And there's, I mean, even just like saying that, there's a lot that goes into it. Now, I have a million questions for you, so I'm just going to bombard you. I'm sure I'm going to ask a lot of these that our listeners are asking. But with that being said, is that how do we even determine, you know, the coyote's lifestyle? Is that a seasonal thing? Is that a daily temperature thing? Is that a sunlight thing? Is that a food thing? You know, how do we do it? So let's just say I'm out here and I know that my coyotes are feeding on, you know, they're micing and they're chasing rabbits. Is that a certain coyote versus a coyote that's, I don't know what else they feed on in other places of the country. But, I mean, is it a food source thing, or what determines that daily behavior? Again, is it temperature, seasonal, food? What determines that daily behavior? I mean, should I be out early and late in the day, like a big game situation?
Well, this is one of our questions, actually.
Perfect.
What do you prefer, daytime or nighttime for
Yeah,
coyotes?
daytime, nighttime, midday. What's your peak number 1, 2s, and 3s?
You know, so to quickly answer the question, I'm a 99.9% day hunter. I've never been real fond of the night hunting because you're limited to one little looking through a thermal scope or looking out in a beam of light, and you just can't see. And as a predator hunter, I want to be able to see, and that's day hunting. So I've never had to reach out to the night side. So that's a quick answer to that question. But back to your other question in regards to, you know, hunting in the morning versus late in the day or middle part of the day, whatever it may be. Yeah, that comes down to looking at the coyotes, and generally coyotes are going to be just like a lot of animals. They're going to be up on the move early morning and late in the day. All right. So anytime a coyote's up on the move on the hunt, the chances of that coyote wanting to cover more ground coming to the call is going to be better. During that middle part of the day, the coyote usually is no different than a deer or an elk. They're going to find some secluded area, whether it's a creek bottom, a swamp, a drainage, somewhere where they can get out of the wind, where they can lay up for the day and rest. And the coyotes will still respond to the call there during those times of the day. You just got to get in a little closer to those coyotes, knowing that they're not going to be willing to come from a long distance usually during that middle part of the day. Now, on top of that, you have weather. Obviously, you get colder conditions as the winter progresses. Food becomes a little more scarce for these coyotes, and they have to work a little bit more, which motivates them to want to come to the call. Parts of the country is also a big thing. You go to some of the big, what if you want to call it, desert sagebrush country in Wyoming and Arizona and Nevada. Those coyotes are used to eating rabbits pretty much year round because there's not a whole lot of other food sources for them. So you can get into better calling situations earlier in the fall. Around here in Nebraska, maybe Colorado, eastern part of the United States, the food sources are abundant, whether it's the rodents and the rabbits, the birds, the vegetables, flowers, whatever they're eating. There's a lot of it. And usually it takes, late winter conditions to get rid, where they're really having to hunt rabbits and mice, for that caloric intake. And that's usually when the calling gets good. If you're killing coyotes within 2 to 3 minutes when you're blowing on a rabbit call or turning the rabbit on, those coyotes are what I call in meat mode, and that's what you really want to see when you're trying to get coyotes close, especially.
I've never turned on a call and killed a coyote in 2 minutes. Just so everybody knows that. We're on a little bit different pages there. I'm more like the 20, 30 minute scenario type stuff. If one came in 2 minutes, I'd fall over. So, no, but I mean, that's good to know, because I think that's the huge things that people think about, and as a hunter, I spend 80 days chasing elk this year, 85 days, whatever it was. I watched this big bull Ricky for 131 days, and, I bed these elk down and these deer down at 8 a.m., and I don't touch them till 4 p.m. I think I get trained as a hunter to not play with things during the day. Hey, they're resting, I should be resting, and you get into that style, and I think it's really encouraging to people that there is a midday hunt. I think that's neat, especially for getting new hunters into the sport, whether you have youth or, different boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. It's neat to say, oh, yeah, we don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. We can go out at 10, in the right situation, cold, perfect, calling situation, have that opportunity. Now, again, I got a million questions for you, but number one, because I get this so many times, I get questions on my phone right here. Let's just say I went down to Bass Pro Shops. I went to Cabela's, and I bought an electronic call. When I take this thing out of the package, some of them have like 50 sounds. Some of them have like 1,500 sounds. It's the most overwhelming thing in the world. As a predator hunter, and I do it, I have calls, I've done it all, but how do you choose? You know what I mean? Like the last set I had coyote hunting, I used House Cats Fighting. So I used, House Cats Fighting as a call, an electronic call, and the coyotes came running. They loved it. It's my favorite call of all time. But when you look through the list, there's more noises available now. And I think so many people get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? You pull up an electronic call and you look at the options, and there's so many different sounds and noises. I don't think people have a clue as of what to use. And more so than specific sounds, how do you even go about picking a genre of sounds? You know what I mean? Is it cold weather, I use this? Or do I have to look at the food source and talk to a biologist about what they're eating? Or, again, we're going to hopefully break this down into a multiple-part series. We're hoping to continue coyotes for the next 4 or 6 weeks to break all this down. But in a nutshell, just because people are asking, how do you even go about the sounds you make in a calling scenario?
So I'm going to start. So this is the call I use right here. It's this Lucky Duck Revolution. It's one of the models that Lucky Ducks makes. That's the call I use. So we're going to kind of use this as an example. The sound library that's on this call was developed by Rick Paulette, the Verminator. Some of you out there might have seen his videos, DVDs throughout the year. Good buddy of mine, but he spent the last 6 or 7 years developing the sound library that's on this call. And yeah, I don't have a cool name like that, but he does, you know.
Right? That's a good name. Like,
you know, so
I'm
so
jealous right there.
No. So this call comes standard with 100 sounds, okay? And
Okay.
and the question you asked me is one I get a lot as well. It's overwhelming when you look through that, you start scrolling through the remote, and this has 16 different categories of sounds from all different types of howls to coyote distresses to coyote fights to breeding sounds. Oh, just a ton of sounds here. So the easiest thing to do is I like to break all these into 3 categories of sounds. The first one is what I call your prey to your jackrabbit, your cottontail, your bird, your rodent, maybe some livestock distresses, any big game distresses. Let's just at this point, let's categorize all those into the prey distress category. Now your second category would be all your coyote vocalizations. You know, these are your lone howls, your interrogation howls, your challenge howls, any type of serenade, you know, multiple coyotes howling. We'll categorize them into that second category with coyote vocals. And then your third category is all your coyote fights, your pup distresses, maybe some fox distresses, some of the breeding sounds, kind of off the wall coyote sounds, okay? Third category. So now we have it simplified a little bit more. Instead of 100 sounds, and that's how I usually lay it out. When I'm going into a stand and making sounds, I'll usually tell people, you know, early on in the season, you know, maybe we focus a little bit more on the prey distress category of sounds. You know, it's maybe not so much important which sound within that category you're using, just as so you're using something within that category. And then maybe late in the stand, we kind of go more towards some of those coyote distresses, the pup distresses, especially early in the fall. You know, we're getting into the breeding season for coyotes. A lot of times coyotes by this time of the year have been pressured a little bit. They've been shot at. These coyotes are a little smarter now. So instead of going back to the prey distress category this time of year, I may focus a lot more on the coyote vocalization categories and the coyote fight, mix a lot of that in my over and over like I did maybe early on in the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where to go from that. I'm already almost lost. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know there was that option. Like, you're talking serenades and different pitches of howls, and I mean, I would, and I think that's huge to know because I think so many times I use what I would call a locator call, which is like a howl, you know, to hopefully find some dogs in the area. That I always go to the prey. You know, my whole thing is always the, you know, again, whatever, the crows, or you go to the jackrabbit, or, you know, the cottontail, or all that kind of stuff. And that's always been, you know, the mice. But that's always been my thing is try to find one locate early and then immediately go to prey. And I think I never thought about the other categories. I think that's huge. And simplification is everything. I mean, because again, once you get overwhelmed with it, you lose the motivation or the confidence, and you're immediately lost. And that's where you're going to really start to struggle. So I think that's huge to have that opportunity to break it down and go from there. And I'm sure once you find a couple of your favorites, I'm sure that's going to help you out and build that to where, yeah, you can start off with, you know, maybe out of 100, maybe you have your top 5, and that's going to make you more successful. Now I will say too, as a person, I'm reading some comments, you have a lot of people that are, whether you call it old school or selective, using mouth calls, hand calls versus the electronic calls. I've heard a lot of coyote hunters, you know, again, I'm going to say more, use the term old school, but these veterans of the sport, that still say mouth calls where they're changing tones and changing with the times, instant, you know, reaction. They say on a pressured coyote, you can get by with a hand call or mouth call better, and it will outproduce an electronic call. But with the variety of sounds and volumes of the electronic call, what's your take on that? What's the scenario? Now, obviously, I want to do it with a bow. I mean, my whole thing right now is bow hunting coyotes because I want to become a better bow hunter. I don't want to collect 10,000 coyotes, but I want to become a better bow hunter. And I'm using coyote hunting and predator hunting to make myself a better bow hunter, to where the electronic call is my only option. There's no chance I'm going to be working a mouth call and still try to draw my bow and shoot. With an electronic call, I can at least have an electronic call close to me, possibly a decoy, and at least, you know, as the coyote comes across the ditch, and I try to put myself in sets to where hopefully I'm forcing the coyote to get out of my vision for a quick period of time as he's coming in to allow me to draw my bow back. An electronic call allows me to have hands-free focus on the archery equipment and still take the shot. But what's your opportunity of, again, the hand calls versus electronic? Is there ever a better or worse situation for them?
You know, there's been people killing coyotes for 100 years with hand calls. You know, nothing wrong with it. The great thing about hand calls is it's a low level of entry. You know, $20 and you can have a hand call and you can go out there and kill coyotes. You know, one of the main downsides to hand calls is exactly what you just mentioned. When a coyote's coming to the call, they are focused on sound. And when the sound's coming right from your face, guess what they're looking at? They're looking right at you. So it's very tough sometimes if you get yourself in the wrong situation when that coyote's coming in, that he's going to pick you out pretty quick because he's already focused right where the sound's coming from. Variety of sounds that you can make with a hand call. You know, I've been around some guys that are exceptional hand callers, but they're limited to about 5 different types of sounds. You know, they can do a lone howl, they can maybe make some rabbit sounds, maybe a bird sound, and maybe a fawn distress, and that's really about it. You know, and that's really where the advantage of an e-call comes in, is with those 2 categories, being able to get the sound and the e-caller out away from where I'm sitting and use a remote. Now that coyote's focus is on the sound, and if you're doing everything you're supposed to do over where, you know, your hide is, that coyote's never going to know you're there when you shoot him. And the second thing is the variety of sounds that you can get. You know, on these Lucky Duck calls, out of those 100 sounds, almost 6, which is huge. This is pressured coyotes, and how do I call these pressured coyotes in, and what sounds do I try to use? You know, there's no magic secret to calling in pressured coyotes that have been hunted hard all year. But if there was one thing I would do to try to call in these coyotes, it'd be use nothing but these coyote-based sounds, the coyote fights, the howling, the breeding sounds, you know, everything that encompasses that. And that's really where an e-call will shine, especially one like a Lucky Duck that has a huge variety of those coyote-based sounds that you can use later in the season when coyotes aren't just running into the rabbit anymore.
And that's huge. I think as the sport grows so much, you see that. I mean, you know, you have coyotes where I'm hunting, you know, where it's a lot of cattle land, where it's strictly they got to go because cattle's the mainstay of the land. I mean, you really hit your brakes going 60 miles an hour, and a coyote a mile away is going 50 miles an hour away from you. You know, these are the type of dogs that, you know, have so much hatred towards them that they're impossible to call. I set up on these, and again, I'm old school. You know, I'm strictly, you know, I'm prey. I'm the rabbit in the distress. That's what I got. You know, and they don't have any interest in mine. I don't think, you know, a lot of hunters don't think about how much the coyote sounds will work in those situations and how that's an excelling point of that. Now, Jeff, we're running out of time here. I got a lot of questions, but you know, real quick, I'm gonna do my best to force you to come back on this show as much as possible over the next month or so, because I want to talk more coyotes. I want to build up the whole concept of this. But real quick, where do people get the information? Things we're talking about tonight, the concepts here, the Coyote Craze videos. Do we go to a website? Do we go to a retailer? Do we just watch them on YouTube? Where's the best place to learn from you? Again, everything I know about coyotes, I have learned from you, and I think everybody else should do the same. Because again, I think it's a sport that's underrated, it's underlooked upon, and I think people it'd blow their mind to take the opportunity at some predator hunting, more than likely, easily, affordably, and near where they live.
Well, first of all, you need to have a longer show, all right? Second of all, people can go to my website. My website is coyotecraze.com. On there's links to my whole YouTube channel, which is basically Coyote Craze videos on YouTube. Lots of instructional videos on there, but there's also just some fun watching coyotes get whacked. You know, everybody loves that. But also on my website as well, there's links to magazine articles I've written over the years. Obviously, those are all instructional. And then information about the coyote school that I put on here in Nebraska. So yeah, tons of information on the website. That's probably the best place for people to go. if they're looking to get a few tips and pointers on going out.
Absolutely. So now, guys, I'm going to be spending some time in the next week, actually in the next 5 days, with Jeff, and again at the International Sportsman's Expo. I'm actually going to sit down in his booth. I'm going to chase him after a couple of seminars, and we're going to do some content live at this show that will be airing next week during the show. And I'm hopefully going to have Jeff back on here again over the next 3-4 weeks, and we're going to break this down. This is basically the intro to coyotes, is what I wanted to call this. This is our first show heavily talking coyotes, and literally over the next 2 or 3 shows, we're going to be talking in more depth about this. We're going to be talking about the breeding season. We're going to be talking about hunting a warm year like we're having right now, a really warm winter where things are different. We're going to talk about those freezing, gnarly 20 below type days, how we approach coyotes in that type situation. So again, guys, everybody that's watching, this is the intro to coyotes, if you will. Over the next several shows, we're going to break it down in more depth. Again, this could be a 400-hour show to talk about everything there's with coyotes. It's a large sport. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of education put forth towards these animals in pursuit of them in the hunting world. So guys, this is just the intro to hunting show. Guys, we brought on literally the master of hunters, the master of coyotes, I should say, as well. Jeff here to have it. Again, it's all about the Coyote Craze video series and coyotecraze.com. So Jeff, I'm going to see you at this show. We're going to shoot some content at this show. I want to hear some sounds. I want you to walk me through this firsthand, personally, and then we're going to have you back on here in the show very soon to talk more in depth about this, if that works for you.
You bet, man. I don't have a booth this year. I'm just doing Thursday at 5:30, and I do a seminar again at 3:30 on Friday. So yeah, we'll get in touch, and I'm not tied down to a booth, so I'll be around. I can roam around and check the show out and visit with everybody. So, but I'll be there at the seminars with all my equipment on hand and be willing to talk to everybody about it. And I got some cool video we just shot last year. My 8, 9, 10-year-old boys shooting coyotes. So that'll all be shown at the seminar. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's awesome, guys. Guys, again, this is all about education. It's all about you. That was our guest, Jeff Nimnick. Guys, thank you so much. And make sure you follow him, Jeff. We'll be in touch here at the show. But, guys, he is the master when it comes to coyote hunting. He does it all. Calling, guns, bows, everything that has to do with coyotes. Jeff is in charge of it. Jeff does it. He is the man when it comes to coyotes. So, guys, make sure you check it out. It's all about the Coyote Craze video series. Go to his website, Coyote Craze. Guys, and I'm going to be bringing you a lot of content from the show live with Jeff there. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned over the next several weeks as it is all about coyotes here. And, guys, again, I am Nate Zielinski. You are watching live here on the Bowtech channels. Again, it's brought to you all live, everything by Bowtech. You're also watching live on the Diamond Archery Facebook page, the Excalibur page, Black Gold, Tight Spot Quivers, Ripcord, Bass Pro Shops of Denver, as well as the Nate Zielinski page. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, predator hunting is huge. It's taking off. I know it was a little broken up there. Service wasn't amazing. But, guys, Jeff's the man. And, again, when it comes down to coyotes, there's so much to it. Again, talking the intro to coyotes here. But there's so much involved in the coyote sport. We're going to break it down for you. I'm not going to lie. It's an intimidating sport because there's so much involved with it. Decoys, calling, and obviously a million sounds with the calling. But over the next couple weeks, we're going to break it down, hopefully make it simpler, and hopefully make you more successful as a coyote hunter. So, again, we're going to break it all down there. Again, we'll be going live as we do every single week, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Bowtech Facebook page. A huge thanks to Bowtech for going live with us. Guys, and we also have a couple waterfowl hunts coming up here over the next couple weeks that we're going to be doing with archery equipment. So, a lot of stuff going on, and kind of in that shoulder season as we're taking advantage of all the small game opportunities, wrapping up some of the big game opportunities, and planning already for the next season's big game hunts. So, guys, again, we got a lot going on. Make sure right now, text all the keywords to our channel right there so you get notifications, because right now, the Super Bowl of archery. The ATA show starts Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, you are texting GO LIVE to 77453 as well as XCAL, EXCAL. So again, GO LIVE and XCAL to 77453. Giving away bows, and I promise you, a lot of information, a lot of Q&A. The best hunters in the world are right there in the Bowtech and Excalibur booths. It's not something you're going to miss. So again, make sure you text those keywords. Guys, we'll see you next week. I'm Nate Zielinski.